Kenya is a country bursting with potential. Young population, tech hubs rising, dreams of a modern future. But there's a paradox. While Kenya needs builders, the people in power are mostly debate-oriented, not build-oriented. Welcome to the Uncommon Sense. Today's episode, Kenya, the mismatch of political leadership in a nation that needs builders. Let's get into it. Let's start with some numbers. According to a World Bank-led report, Kenya must spend roughly $4 billion annually just to meet its infrastructure needs. Yet, these investments are often delayed, mismanaged, or fail to deliver full value. One example, water and sanitation in Nairobi. Only about 40% of those with a piped connection receive continuous supply. And infrastructure financing? Kenya has a major deficit. So imagine, a growing city, thousands of new households, more vehicles on the road, and yet the infrastructure doesn't just lag. It threatens to become a drag. Now pair that with political leadership whose professional training is primarily in law, politics, or public administration. That's the mismatch we're talking about. Let's look at how leadership background matters. A lawyer or career politician is excellent at drafting laws, negotiating deals, and managing rhetoric. But when the problem is, how do we build a cross-country water pipeline? Or, how do we design urban transport for 15 million people? Those are engineering questions. A lawyer in charge of infrastructure is like a pianist being asked to repair a jet engine. Beautiful with music, but the wrong toolkit. In Kenya, many of today's leaders come through legal and political channels. Fine. But when you look at the pressing national challenges, urban infrastructure, transport, water systems, sustainable housing, the professional toolkit of the engineer or the builder becomes more relevant. Let's unpack the three big challenges. 1. Infrastructure development. Kenya's highways, ports, rail, energy transmission lines all need urgent upgrades. For example, Kenya recently secured a $600 million short-term financing to fund road construction amid budgetary constraints. Even with that effort, there's still a large backlog and many projects are stalling due to funding, governance, or design issues. 2. Urban congestion. Nairobi is rapidly urbanizing. With population growth and vehicle ownership increasing, roads and public transport are overwhelmed. Slum areas expand faster than city services. Water, sewage, power all fall behind. 3. Uneven growth. While some areas leap ahead, e.g., tech hubs like Konza Technopolis, many rural counties remain underserved. County governments struggle with weak technical capacity, lots of grants misspent, or projects that stop halfway. One county's infrastructure planning identifies weak transport networks and limited technical skill as key hurdles. These are not simply political issues. They are deeply technical and design-oriented challenges. They call for thinking in beams, pipes, zoning laws, hydrology, heat load, traffic modeling, not just slogans. When leadership's mindset is geared toward debate, negotiation, constitutional reform, instead of planning, engineering, and systems integration, what happens? Projects may be approved but not designed for long-term use. Budgets may be allocated but without technical oversight, leading to cost overruns. For instance, Kenya's infrastructure projects have been repeatedly victim to corruption and misallocation of loan funds. The visioning of a project, what needs to be built, how, for whom, gets disconnected from the execution. That gap is fatal. In Nairobi, one report calls out the fragile state of critical infrastructure owing to governance failures. When the leader doesn't come from the builder's mindset, the system treats infrastructure as a commodity, not as foundational. Building a city under a politician-only mindset is like planting a forest and forgetting to water the saplings. You have the seeds, but no structure to let them grow. But it's not all doom and gloom. Kenya does have promising examples. The engineering community is active. At the University of Nairobi's Department of Civil and Construction Engineering, a major conference in June 2024 brought over 400 participants focused on advancing infrastructure for Kenya's economic transformation. Projects like Konza Technopolis show ambition in urban planning and tech infrastructure. But even these flagship efforts suffer delays and design execution mismatches. A journalistic commentary argues that politicians like Raila Odinga, as infrastructure architect under a previous government, adopted more technical mindsets to rebuild Kenya's roads. So, the technical capability is there. What's missing is leadership that is already programmed in engineering or design thinking, who views infrastructure not just as a campaign promise, but as a nation-scale system. Example to imagine. If the next president had a background in civil engineering, they may ask, what is the carrying capacity of this road in 2035? Where will the water flows go when this slum becomes a town of 1 million? How do we align rail, road, utility, housing in one integrated corridor? Instead of, how do I win the next election by promising roads? Here's a sketch of what leadership aligned with Kenya's needs might look like. 1. Core mindset of a builder, not just managing ministries but designing systems. 2. Technical literacy, understanding infrastructure planning, public works budgets, materials, climate resilience. 3. Integrated vision, seeing housing, transport, water, power as one ecosystem, not separate silos. 4. Long-term thinking, projects designed for 30 to 50 years, not just the next election cycle. 5. Transparent execution and accountability. Engineers often work with peer review and standards. Bring that into governance. A leader with an engineering or structural planning background could reduce the bottleneck between vision and reality, between blueprint and lived city. And importantly, this isn't about excluding lawyers, economists, or politicians. It's about having the right leader with the right toolkit, supported by a balanced team. Think of it like an orchestra. The conductor might be a builder mindset, but you still need legal, economic, and social experts. The problem is when the only instrument is the gavel of politics. Imagine it, Nairobi's ring road completed in Decade X, with predictive traffic modeling built in. Slum upgrading not in ad hoc bits, but in masterplan neighborhoods with water, sewer, roads, green space. Rural counties supported by mobile infrastructure engineering units rather than parachuted political appointees. Funding could also shift from loans for flashy projects to purpose-built infrastructure funds managed by engineers and technocrats. Kenya's new infrastructure fund was lauded as a path out of debt, or a risky gamble. If the management mindset aligns with the builder's logic, it might deliver better outcomes. Then the metaphor becomes real. A musician trying to fix a jet engine replaced by a trained pilot running the cockpit. There are obstacles: political inertia, vested interests, corruption, funding shortfalls, and the very architecture of political leadership is built on legal/political careers. But Kenya has advantage: committed engineers, budding smart city projects, a youth population eager for functionality, not just rhetoric. One commentator said, Kenya is blessed with capable professionals who can manage projects transparently and deliver value for money. Let them lead, not political cronies and cartels. That is a call to shift mindsets. So here's the hopeful truth. When leadership aligns with the mission, systems start working. When it doesn't, the city becomes a traffic jam, the water turns off, the ambition stalls. Now I'd love to hear from you. If you were to choose the next leader of Kenya, what background should they have? What infrastructure challenge frustrates you the most where you live? And what's one project you'd like to see completed in the next 5 years? Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and if you found this episode useful, share it. Because when we start thinking about who leads in the right way, we start building nations, not just debating them. Thanks for watching The Uncommon Sense. Until next time, question the mindset, align with the mission, and let's build something that lasts.